Okay, so officially welcoming you to the probably 10 or 11th in our series of CSC Online PD events for this year. We're very happy to be able to do these virtually, since unfortunately we haven't been able to get together at our regular conference. And I was just saying earlier to a few people that were online, you know, it's not likely we'll be able to have our June conference in person this year either, but Robin and I are committed to continuing to offer online sessions and welcome any suggestions for sessions for the remainder of this year for the upcoming new year. And I'm still hopeful that a year from now, maybe we can get together for regional meetings, one in the north, the west, the south, and in central, or the east and in central, and kind of, you know, maybe have a mini one-day conference in each region if we were able to get together face-to-face by this time next year. So that's our hope. But in the meantime, I'm just going to very quickly share my screen and remind everyone, in case you didn't see it, of some of the upcoming PD in the next couple of weeks. Bear with me here because I have too many things open right now. Just a second. Stop sharing for a minute.
That's a cute deer.
Oh yeah, that's Melvin. We have a lot of deer here, and they're all named Melvin because one can't tell them apart. Okay, so there we go. All right, so here we are today, and we will be welcoming Phil Ortiz and Ellie Vitello from George Brown, who are kind enough to donate their time and expertise today to talk to us around the topic of building community online. This was a workshop that we had originally hoped to offer in person at our June conference, but some of these workshops do lend themselves to being offered online instead. So Phil and Ellie kindly agreed to give us an online version today. Next week, we have part 2 of the CAMS series. Last week was part 1 sort of for new users, and then our follow-up session next week is for more experienced users, although new users are welcome to attend as well, of course. And then on Thursday, the 25th, I'll be doing a little OALCF part 1 refresher. There was some interest last fall when we had our virtual services meetings of revisiting some pieces of the OALCF, because we've had a lot of new folks join our academic upgrading program since the OALCF first rolled out 10 years ago. So I will do a part 1 session and a part 2 on March 10th. And each Monday, Robin is sending out a new, just a reminder of whatever the session is upcoming. So next week, you'll see a reminder for the CAM session. Robin, anything to add for that to that today?
No, I was actually just typing in the chat that I'd be sending out weekly reminders, but you beat me to it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so just around a couple of logistics for today. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. Our presenters have allocated some time for discussion at particular points in the presentation today. So I'll reference the chat questions, and or they can do that as well when we pause for discussion breaks. There are also going to be 2 points at which we divide up into breakout rooms. And I'm not sure if you've used a breakout room before, but you will, the system will automatically separate us into groups of 3 or 4. And then I can send out a little message. You just have to click on the button to join the room. And then I can send out a message a few minutes before we're going to regroup into the big room. And in the first breakout session, Ellie and Phil will not be visiting your rooms. In the second breakout session, they will. So that's just a brief kind of preview of what's to come. So with that, I think I'll turn things over right now to Phil and Ellie, and a big thank you for agreeing to present to us today. And I'm going to turn off my camera for now so that it's not distracting, but I will be lurking. I'll be right here.
Thanks, Barb.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. We're just going to take a couple moments as Phil shares their screen with you all.
Hopefully you see it.
Yes,
We're good.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm having that feeling I always have at educational conferences and stuff, like all of those acronyms And I'm always like, do I know what that? I don't know what that. I know that one. I don't know that. So a little dizzy right now. Thank you all for being here. It's amazing. It's such a big crew to join us here in this workshop that we hope will be fun. Certainly will be interactive. Hopefully it will be informative. We hope to avoid one of the common pitfalls of these things, which is us talking forever and you not contributing and being able to influence the direction of the workshop. So we've built in a lot of opportunities for you to engage, and actually it fits in with our theme about synchronous activities, how they can bolster your community, create a sense of togetherness, even though you're, in your room alone. So we hope that maybe that will even be something you take away from this, is those great tools that are available to you. Just by way of introduction, I'm a communications professor in the AU department at George Brown. I've been teaching there for 3 years, and this is my colleague, Ellie.
Hi everybody. So when Phil goes to the start of our presentation, you're going to see a lovely photo of us. I always like to segue into photos that don't have masks on, that this was taken pre-COVID in our office at George Brown. So this is who you've entrusted the next hour of your life to, Phil and myself. So I've been teaching within academic upgrading since 2011. And I'm now teaching ACE-COM plus coordinating the program with Melissa Manzo. So today we wanted you to have the same opportunity to introduce yourself to others. So this is our first kind of breakout room, but before we enter it, we wanted to give a little guidance. So please, when you are introducing yourself, we'd love you to state your name, the role that you currently have, and then hopefully describe one of your unforgettable online synchronous moments. So this doesn't have to be you teaching or learning. And to give you an example, I'll start with mine. So before we went online, when COVID first came, I wasn't very technically savvy. I don't think I'm very technically savvy, although I do. Phil reminded me that I am pretty tech savvy. But this was in the early days, and I had my kids at home, my husband was at home, I was running a class, and I thought I pressed mute, and I think this happens to a lot of us. And anyway, so I couldn't get it to it quick enough. So I think my class heard a little bit more about my home life than I would have liked them to hear about. So not that, something crazy happened, but it was definitely unforgettable because I've always remembered to look at that mute button before life goes on. So a good reminder to everybody here on the talk, mute is our friend. Phil, an unforgettable moment of yours?
Yeah, I actually, it's funny. I just up until this moment, I hadn't decided what I was going to share because there's actually been a number, but I did have the nightmare moment. I had the thing happen to me that I was like sure was going to happen all the time, which is total blackout. Everything that I heard, I was in the middle of teaching, and I heard chick chick. And everything died, and I was like, no, I can't believe it. And it was a fairly early on in the class, so it felt even more catastrophic because I didn't really know them, whatever, and I couldn't believe it. It took more than 10 minutes for me to get back, and they were all still there. Couldn't believe it. And they were joking. They were saying, like, we had a debate. And a couple students said, I told them to stay, and then they were joking about it. But it was amazing that, I kind of feel good about the fact that it happened and I lived through it. It could have gone so horribly because I hadn't even really gone over what to do in that case. So I was so happy that they all had stuck around for it. So that's my story.
Nice. So now we have Barb, who will hopefully put us, well, except for Phil and I, into breakout groups. So hopefully in groups of 3, where you can all introduce yourselves and talk about those unforgettable moments.
Okay, I have the breakout room set to go. And
we're talking about it'll be like 7 minutes, so it won't be that long. So, try to keep it peppy as you share the mic a little bit.
So no more than about 1.5 minutes per person.
Exactly.
We'll be time.
Okay, I'm going to share an online moment before we go into the rooms. It's not
Mhm.
actually mine, it's my daughter's. She teaches at Conestoga. And so during one of her first forays into Zoom teaching, her partner who works shifts was cooking and set off the smoke alarm.
Oh.
So, things
It happens.
happen. Yep. So, okay, I'm going to hit the breakout rooms button. It'll take just a moment, and then you'll see a little button to accept the room. Takes you into the room. I'll send a message a couple of minutes before the 7 minutes are up. And then when I disconnect the rooms, you have 60 seconds to get out and get back into the breakout room. So if you're just in the middle of a sentence or something, you have a few seconds after I bring you back to get out.
It can be a little freaky because all of a sudden the room disappears. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm
Thanks,
going to hit
Barb.
create rooms. Here we go. Open all rooms.
So we'll just not accept.
Yeah.
Ellie.
Yeah.
Not now.
And then we'll see people disappearing.
Wow.
This is awesome.
Weird. Weird.
Okay. So it's 3:14. So 7 minutes takes us to 3:21. So I'll
Good.
Barb, you're the best. Thanks for organizing all
Yeah,
of this.
thank
no
you.
problem.
Maggie, where's Maggie?
I would say
going?
we're already behind schedule, which is awesome.
No, this is fine. We'll
we can do
we'll
6
just.
minutes.
No, yeah, I love people talking to one another. So I say if we let anything go, it's time. It's now.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll basically just show the video and then we're done.
I always
Good
like
luck.
looking. I like looking at who's in what group.
Yeah, no, it's
Can I
great.
get a list? Like you probably know that. Like I get a list.
Right.
La Cité. Oh, so
Oh, Luke.
We
Last
have,
week-
we have a new arrival.
La Cité can introduce themselves to us.
I think La Cité might be the college.
It's the college, I know.
Luke.
Yeah.
Luke.
I just assigned Luke to a room.
Oh, good for you, Barb. Just
Wow.
boom.
Well, honestly, it's almost foolproof. I gotta say, because as soon as he
Don't say
joined,
that.
it's, I know, almost. I use the word almost.
Yeah.
Because I see this list of breakout rooms and who's in which one, and then his name popped right up at the top and said not assigned.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah, it's perfect.
do you want to assign a room? And I click yes, and then it shows me how many people are in each room. So I picked a room that only had 3, and it was just like, wow,
That's so cool.
I know. And this is like the
I love
second
it
time
that-
I've used breakout rooms. So I'm not a pro at this, but I'm fairly impressed with how easy it is.
Yeah, and I'm glad Teams just introduced it as part of their software too. I'm
Mhm.
Yep.
glad about that.
Yep.
Because it's so what we had to do breakout rooms before was nuts. It was too
Yeah.
much work.
So just so
I,
everyone knows, the breakout rooms are not being recorded, but this banter is, which is fine.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it'll be fun for everybody to watch it when they watch this workshop back.
It's
True.
actually more fun, isn't it? Because you're catching people in a candid moment.
Well, if somebody is watching this later in the recording, you can fast forward a couple of minutes if you want and not listen to us banter. And so it's now 3:16. So we'll have about
4
or
more
5
minutes.
more minutes in the breakout
Mhm.
rooms.
Good.
That's a good
so,
point though, Phil.
Barb, did you say that who's teaching right now? Your daughter?
Yeah.
Cool. What course?
She teaches math in pre-health and sometimes in biotechnology and teaches stats. So she's doing her PhD right now in geohydrology, like water studies.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. Whatever. So she went to Nipissing University here for her undergrad, and then she did her master's at Waterloo, and that's how she ended up down south. And she wanted to do some part-time work, and so she, good or bad, started applying to teach at Conestoga, and she actually started teaching briefly in pre-apprenticeship at Niagara when I was there. And she really, really, really liked the AU type students that were in pre-apprenticeship. So that apple didn't fall far from the tree.
That's
It's
awesome.
the best. It's the best.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sure is.
We all know it.
Yeah, really gave her a taste for it. And she's had, she hasn't worked anymore at Niagara, but that was a little bit of a far drive for her. But she's had she's been partial out at Conestoga now for the last maybe 2.5 years, like pretty well every semester, getting at least a course or two, and that helps with her funding her PhD and trying to live.
It's such a good compliment to a graduate study program to be a teacher. Like
Oh, it is.
I find it's really, I mean, I'm looking at programs and stuff, and I'm just thinking, I think I could do it. I think I could actually, I mean, it's not easy. It's hard with anything, but teaching particularly seems doable.
Yeah, I think so too. So she's had, just like everybody though, like all the faculty had to just completely rewrite all of her materials, and she was madly working away, obviously last year like everybody else, and it's not easy, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah. Okay, 3:19. So I'm going to give them a 2-minute warning. Okay.
Yeah, maybe 1 minute. What do you
Is 1
think?
minute okay?
Yeah.
No. Let it go.
I'll say 2 minute. I'll say 1 minute, and well.
And then you'll cut it at 1, and then they have a minute. Okay.
Why am I so red?
You know, you don't come across as red on my screen.
Oh, okay. My room is hot is the problem. My cheeks are very red right now. I'm a red mushroom.
Oh. I like the happy face at the end of that message, Barb.
There we go. Big on those.
Now leave.
I must admit, before I did it with Chris's session 2 weeks ago, I practiced with just 2 people.
Yeah,
I
smart.
put them each in their own breakout rooms and make sure I could like get them in there and bring them back.
Practice is key.
Yeah.
It really is with online stuff, because and patience. Practice and patience, 2 big ones.
Well, you know, I think the biggest stressor is not knowing what to do when things fall apart. That's the hardest thing. When you're in a classroom and the projector doesn't work, well, it's not that big of a deal. But on here, it's can mean the difference between the program happening or not. It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see people are coming back in, so that's great.
What have you done to James? He's become the pair. He's in the pair.
I'm back.
Oh, there he is.
I just showed everybody my dog.
Oh, well, you got to show us your dog.
Okay, just a sec.
I mean, it must be a cute dog.
I say it's a painting of a dog.
No, it's a real one.
Oh, okay.
And I bet it's like a doodle.
This is Ruby.
What's her name?
Ruby.
Oh,
Ruby.
And I just woke her up, so she's a little bit. Yeah, there she
There
is.
it is.
Nice big
There's a
yawn.
She wants to go back to sleep, but yeah.
Yeah, she's like, what's happening?
Ruby, don't be a day sleeper. It always catches up to you.
All right, so everyone should be coming back.
Yep, they are gradually. We're back up to 8 in the main room now.
Love it.
And I won't hit the close button for a few more seconds, just to give people their full 60 seconds of time to get out.
So Ellie, I'm not going to go back.
I don't mean to interrupt, guys. It occurred to me to give you a heads up, not to be rude, but I have to go pick up my daughter, 3:45. So if I happen to dip out, just wanted to let you know why. Thanks.
Thanks,
you.
Jessica.
No
Thanks
problem.
for the heads up. We're glad you could be here for most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're always looking to find out ways to build the community, and especially remote, it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, thank you for my breakout room. There were 2 Mohawk College people there, and I went to Mohawk College. I'm an alumnus. We worked it out, but I'm one of them.
Wow. Well, Jim, that was totally planned when I hit that random button.
Well, thank you. You remember my resume.
Okay, I am
That's
going
awesome.
to make the executive decision to close all the rooms now.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah,
here
go
we
for
go.
it. Thanks, Barb.
You're cutting off the laggards here. All right, I like that.
Yep. And then it's just doing a little countdown.
It is alumnus. It's so hard to remember. Alumnus is the singular, and alumni is the plural.
Exactly.
Because Latin is weird.
There we go. And everybody's coming back in.
That's why I love when people just alum. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, just alum. Forget about the suffix. Just alum.
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, well, not everyone yet.
Everyone-ish coming back.
Yeah, we're getting up there.
I hope your discussion in your breakout rooms was awesome. We'll get to a bit of a debrief very soon.
Yes. Kim weighed in the chat that it's alumnus with a nice happy face. Okay, so.
Happy faces de rigueur.
Okay, right, countdown. Okay, we should have everybody back now.
Awesome. Here they come.
Yeah.
Storming back in.
Nice.
Okay, great. So what we would like to do now is kind of continue that conversation a little bit, but in a different format. So if you've had experience with Padlet, you will know what I am talking about when I say this. But for the rest of you, I'm going to give just a brief little introduction. I've just put a link in the chat to a Padlet that I've created, and I'm now going to share that, screen share that, so you can see what that looks like. Where is it? Here it is. So this here, I'm hoping you can see this. This is a Padlet. This is a way, oh, wait, I have to show
Yeah,
you.
we're not
Yeah,
seeing it
there we
yet.
go.
There we go. Okay, sorry. So I can close this, I believe. Yes. All right. So this is, all right, sorry.
As you were in your discussion groups, we were talking about, working online and how patience is one of the biggest things to take to anything online.
Yes. Now do you see it?
Yes.
So cool.
Okay, cool. So I've set up a little Padlet here. You will be asked for a password when you click on that link in the chat. The password is connection with a capital C. So capital C ONNECTION. And we'd like you to answer this first question, just on the left-hand side. The instructions are, based on your small group discussion, what are some themes or points of interest about online synchronous activities? Add your own comment by clicking on the plus sign below. So you can just add by clicking here, another little box will pop up. You can put in a little title if you want. You sort of, I think you have to, it makes you put in some little title. But just add something that came up for you in the breakout group. It can be a commonality that you noticed, something that you said, but this is a way for us to share all together. Great, expect the unexpected. Awesome.
That's awesome.
So you can also, if you want, you can respond to somebody else by clicking add comment. That adds your comment below theirs if you want to do that, but we sort of prefer expect your kids to zoom on. Great. Yeah, so people have the hang of it. Great. So if you can add your comments, and we'll sort of do just sort of a live discussion of it. But the idea here is just to hear from you about what happened in the breakout groups, but in a different format, in this written format.
And as Phil is sharing this Padlet, I just want to say that this is an excellent way to enhance your community online. I use this in my class. Just if students don't feel like, writing their name in the chat, this is an anonymous platform. You can get feedback from your students this way. And I find it helps me build community within my online class.
Yeah, and the idea is you build these over the course of whatever, the weeks of your class or within your program. This can be a bulletin board for all different kinds of ideas. And you can do anything with this. You can drag in videos, graphs, PowerPoints, everything. It's very flexible. So it's a really simple way of sharing with each other. One of the things I did with it that I loved was I was like, okay, I'm going to do this selfishly. What are some great cheap places to eat in Toronto? And then I put a map of Toronto, and people just added all of these great recommendations. I now have like 40 recommendations for good places to eat in Toronto.
Awesome.
Okay, now we're not getting many.
Is there a way to scroll down? Maybe there's some coming up on the bottom.
Unless unless this thing is frozen, I don't think that's what's going on. Let me check.
Well, I do like the expect the unexpected because that's a great way to look at it. And your
Yeah.
kids will Zoom bomb for sure. Students will become more comfortable. Yes. Screen sharing, camera sharing, texting, internet interruptions. Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why the other one was frozen. I don't know what happened.
I'm sure everyone's, well, it's that's case in point, Phil. It's just things get frozen. I hear a lot of the times my kids, this is glitching.
Yeah.
Unplanned moments.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Memorable moments that provided a good laugh. Be ready to tidy up your background or have a virtual background.
Good call
Walking
on
to a
that
blank
one.
screen. Students don't have or don't like to be on video.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing, right? Like that that question about how much do you can you hear me now? How much do you enforce that, right? I think in general, obviously when you can see people, there tends to be a feeling of greater connection, but people have all kinds of reasons for not sharing their video. And I think being sensitive to that makes a lot of sense. I certainly encourage people to blur their background or choose a background of their own liking, both as a way to have fun, but also to, kind of keep things private that they don't want to share.
One tip that I have, if someone doesn't want to show their video, what I've asked my class to do is in Teams, how I operate my class, you're able to, instead of your initials showing up, you can actually put a picture in. So I encourage my students to put a picture that they don't mind sharing with the class, or an emoji or something that they identify with. And then at least I'm not staring at initials, but I'm staring at something that they're connected with. So just a tip there for you.
Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing that.
Okay.
But of course, just so you know, with that link, you can revisit this Padlet. So it doesn't disappear. As long as you have that link and as long as I keep this up here, you'll have access to it. So you can keep it open while we're doing this workshop. You can come back to it and see what people say. That's what's awesome about it.
Okay, so now as Phil starts sharing our screen that we had before.
See how she's giving me subtle directions?
So just to let you know, Phil and I,
Where is it?
which I will later identify as a resource, but it's a preferred resource that I use in my class. I call it my PowerPoint with muscles because it lets me add a lot of images, a lot of text. I can copy and paste a lot of information. You can also have links from outside sources embedded within that your students can access quite easily. So we do give you the link to this later in the resource section, but I just wanted to identify it. And here's another thing.
You froze. I don't know if for everybody, but briefly the audio froze. You were talking about Rise, correct? Okay,
perfect. So I'll mention Rise again in our resource area, but I just wanted to let you know that it's a great tool. Now we're just going to turn our attention to Synchronous. Just to get us all on the same page on, where we're coming from, Phil and I, in terms of Synchronous. So we really want to name Synchronous digital interaction. So we're online to help build community within programs. This means that 2 or more individuals online sharing information, sharing a digital platform at the same time. So just like we're doing right now, we are literally practicing what our workshop is trying to promote. So we would love to get a sense of your experience or familiarity with synchronous online interaction. So a lot of you did mention on the Padlet, kind of your most amazing moments. But we wanted to get a sense of how are you using it in your everyday work life? What's your synchronous experience? So Phil has a prompt for you on the Padlet.
Yep. So now you can move to the second column, and it's perhaps it might be nice if you shared your college and your role, not required to, but it might be nice so we can just get a sense of the different people in the room. And we're just asking you to describe the kinds of things you have done and maybe the platforms that you've used. So Zoom, Teams, Blackboard, Google Meets, etc. And if you have no experience, you could talk about the reasons for that. So no shame, no judgment. It could be like, oh, I didn't even know this stuff existed, or I just am a technical klutz. I don't want to go anywhere near it. Whatever the answer is, or it could be a more program-wide answer. But we'd like to get a sense of what's going on out there, what your level of familiarity is, and how it's the different ways that it's being used. Are you seeing this through my screen?
Yeah, if you wanted to, we're seeing some entries if you want to scroll. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Wellness Peer Mentor, Mohawk College, Canva to create presentations for workshops.
Great. And Kahoot is an excellent interactive tool. It's for taking polls and doing interactive stuff. Yep.
We see from Fleming College, faculty and coordinator, WebEx meetings with students, teacher-led and self-paced. Awesome. Outreach and engagement officer, academic upgrading at Mohawk College. Jessica R. from Cambrian, support staff, in addition to Zoom.
She's writing it as we speak.
I know, I'm just waiting. Bated breath.
See, I'm going to go back up here. We got Kahoot Games, Peer Mentor. Oh, I don't know what that means. Is that, I'm assuming that's a person, not a program. That's great. I'd like to hear more about that.
Zoom.
Brightspace Mentee. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay. Okay, Padlet. We got another Padlet.
Mentimeter as well. That's another surveying tool.
So another reason why we are having you write these experiences down on Padlet is so, and as Phil told you about, you can come back to this link. So if you ever wanted to see, you know, what your colleagues might be using in what roles, this is a great resource for you to think, oh, okay, maybe I can apply this to what I'm doing.
Yeah, so this will give you some resource. It ends up being kind of a resource list. That's excellent. It's good to see. There's quite a bit of experience in this room. It's obvious. All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So as Phil goes back to our rise.
Oh, man, I never sleep. All right, I have to bring it up. Hold on. There we go.
So what I wanted to introduce next is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Basically, I wanted to introduce this video, and this is a video that explores the academic upgrading program initiative where professors work together to offer online workshops to our students during the initial COVID lockdown. This video presents the inspiration behind the workshops, how they were developed and organized. The video also highlights how synchronous online activities help create and support community within our AU students. And it became the inspiration behind the workshop that Phil and I are presenting today. So Phil is actually going to click on it and we'll watch it as a group. It's about 10 minutes long. And then after this video, we're going to come back and discuss. And the stars of the video are actually, some of them are participating in this workshop. So
I'm sure they are.
And I've got the volume all the way up on my computer. If you're having trouble hearing it, you might have to adjust the volume on your, whatever your device is, whatever device you're using.
Okay, well, we can see it, so that's good. There we go.
This is such a great question, and actually was thinking about it for a while. But to me, community is not an actual physical space. I find it's a place where people feel welcome to be who they are, and a place where people feel free to make mistakes, and mistakes are seen as something positive and a way for us to grow. And it encourages us to kind of, be who we are.
Community to me is a group of individuals who share common interest in terms of education and ideology. Given the situation with pandemic, right now it has become more of an extended family to me.
We all really felt for the students because they had to suddenly be online, and many of them were just not prepared to do that. So there was a lot of transition going on. And then we announced that we were going to have a month off to create curriculum. And I thought, oh no, like, you know, what are our students going to do in the midst of a school year when so many of our students see our program as a bit of a lifeline and a routine in their day, and now what? You know, suddenly they're kind of rudderless. And I thought, well, why not offer a workshop a day for that month? You know, and so that was the inspiration behind it, was to keep students connected to the program, to one another, to their teachers, some sense of normalcy in the middle of, you know, crazy COVID. And yeah.
So there was 3 of us that really got together and made that happen, and just put word out to teachers and faculty members who were interested in delivering workshops, and the response was awesome. It was really positive, and they volunteered their time.
We asked teachers, you know, would anyone like to donate an hour and a half of your time to host one workshop during this month long? And the goal was to get 1 per day. And so 10 of our staff stepped forward to offer their time. So first, I got a hold of just a plain calendar that I could work with online. And Jim, our computer teacher, became really instrumental in helping me create a really simple calendar where students could sign up with a click to register for whichever, you know, opportunity they wanted. So we were working on that on the side. And then what Kavitha, Chris, and I did was create one Eventbrite account, and we all became owners. So we looked at the offerings. There were roughly 13, 14 offerings. So we divided them up, and we each created kind of a host or event page for each of our workshops, or the workshops being offered. We got a little write-up from each of the teachers, and so created a page each with a live link, and grabbed that link and put it on the calendar along with a quick little description. After each event was hosted, I asked teachers for feedback. And so with that, I kind of did a little weekly blast. So students would know. Initially, I sent out, you know, an explanation, sent out the calendar to give them a little preview. This is what's coming. But on the Monday morning early, I would send out a blast of what's happening this week, a quick little description, a link to the calendar. And as week 2 happened, I would send feedback from week 1. So kind of like a little teaser, or, you know, to get to whet their appetites for what's coming.
So what actually happened is the team created a calendar that had all of the events on it. So what students had to do was click, there was a link embedded on my event, and that guided them to an Eventbrite website where they got to register for the event and gave them a little bit of details. And then the back end of things, someone in our department created a team on Microsoft Teams called AU Student Events. So this is where, from my understanding, like my event was hosted, and I think many others as well. So all students had to do on the day of the event was sign up a few minutes before, and then when they clicked on the Microsoft team, I already had a video that popped up that was just titled Mindfulness Meditation. So they just had to join in the conversation, and we went from there.
It was a very honest and open conversation of parents talking about parenting in exceptional times. And as it was expected, you know, we had people like kids crying in the background, or kids showing up in the camera. However, this time there was no side comment of could everybody mute their phones. We just let that happen, and it was a very good. It was a very good 1.5 hour conversation that we had about what was going on and what we could do moving forward.
Okay, so I was helping organizing these workshops on time management and effective strategies to prioritizing our daily tasks. This was during the initial phases of the pandemic, which is when students were all going online. They didn't know how to navigate through the process. So, you know, this was so timely, and they were just given tips and tools to use in order to prioritize their tasks in terms of courses, in terms of their personal activities and whatnot.
Students were getting together and bringing in some instruments and trying to play some tunes. So I really want to, as much as possible, give them an opportunity to continue doing that, to continue practicing that. We did have some unofficial goals in terms of what we were hoping to accomplish. We were trying to work towards being able to play some specific songs and hopefully down the road perform those songs. So initially moving to this to an online platform like Zoom was really as a way to try and continue to keep that moving and to keep the students focused on working towards a goal.
So I actually put together a guided meditation that focused on sending love and kindness to others and to ourselves as well. I actually participated in an event like this and it just kind of inspired me. And another reason why I decided to do an event like this is I actually embed this practice into my classroom, and I've gotten such wonderful feedback over the years that I wanted to extend it and share it with our AU community.
It was really quite heartwarming and valuable because, and there was quite a range of feedback too. You know, there were the students who were so appreciative. A number of our workshops just focused on how we're dealing right now with COVID and isolation and managing that. And so the students really appreciated those ones because it was a chance for them to connect, to talk, because the groups were fairly small. They ranged from about 2 people to about 12 or 13. So they weren't overly large. So students were very able to participate in conversation, and the workshops were structured that way. So there was lots of interaction. It wasn't just, you know, informational.
And the feedback I got from the students in my one-to-one counseling is that they deeply appreciated that space to come together and feel in part of a community, but also be engaged. They're really curious and love learning.
And I think that we can look at the one of the positives as being that, again, it's just another opportunity for people to connect, especially at a time where people do need those connections. So I think that there's a great deal of value in that.
Really looking at how we can support technology and workshops that work from an anti-racist and Indigenous kind of framework. So interesting having, you know, multiple conversations with students one-to-one around accessing the technology, and sometimes that could be fearful and not always accessible, and maybe being brought up to speed about that, because I know there's lots being written on that. So, and I'm just learning myself. So
honestly, I would want to continue these events for students and not just it be with me. I'd want to expand out. I'd want to get the students involved and get their feedback on what they want more of. And I feel like those video chats, the interpersonal connections were so important to them, and not even for them, for us as well. So I would want to spend all my time and money and just kind of putting those events together and continue to build community.
Bubblegum, because they can swallow it and it'll take 7 years to digest. They can stick it in your furniture and you don't realize until you spit on it. So definitely bubblegum.
Dislike? I like them both.
Interesting. I think I would go for a bubblegum.
Ooh, bubblegum. Big popcorn girl.
oh, bubblegum.
Well, speaking as someone who's lactose intolerant, I'm going to go with popcorn every time. Just the smell of the butter makes me have to leave the room. So I guess bubble gum is better. Just don't swallow it.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Phil, thank you for sharing that. Thanks to all who participated. So I know that we have Chris Karen in this presentation, as well as Carolyn Dobbin. So thank you to them, especially for being in the video that helped inspire this workshop. As Phil shares our, actually no, Phil's not sharing. So if you'll give us a moment, Barb is going to put us in 2 breakout rooms. Phil will be in one breakout room, I'll be in the other breakout room. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on this video and kind of ask the similar question of, you know, are you inspired? If so, is there a workshop that you would like to put into action to help build support in your program? And of course, we'll need to know which is worse, bubblegum or popcorn. So be prepared to answer that one as well. So our breakout room should be, I'm just looking at the time, about 5 minutes. So Barb, if you could please put us in a breakout room each, and we'll have a chat.
Okay, did you say about 5 minutes?
Yeah, I just feel
Time is short. I
and
mean,
thanks-
alternately, we could just stay in this big group. How about we
let's
just
do
do
it.
that?
Let's stay
Yeah.
big group. We'll have an open chat about, you know, if you could produce a workshop, what would it be?
Thinking particularly about like something that might be helpful for people in your community who, especially now, are experiencing some sense of isolation. Like, what are the challenges? And so what would be a workshop that you think might help with that?
And feel free to either put something in the chat.
Right.
If you want to raise your hand in the participant, I can see it in the participants list, but also if you just want to unmute, go ahead.
In the meanwhile, Phil, we can go on to sharing the rise, and as we wait for some responses, we can go over some resources that we wanted to share going forward and that you'll have available to you once we get this link over to Barb. So think about what workshops you would think of that have inspired you from the video. In the meanwhile, we just wanted to think about like the resources that we have at hand. And Phil and I really wanted to let you know that the biggest and best resource is you. So it doesn't mean you need to know how to do all this Padlet and Zoom and Kahoot, which a lot of you do already know about. But it's just the simplest thing I found is just being online, being on camera, reaching out to students and colleagues and having these conversations. If you can't have them in person, to have them as close as to be online, it really is very useful in building that community within your program. Otherwise, like we mentioned before, Microsoft Teams is amazing. I know myself and other faculty members use it quite often. The link that we've provided here will give you tutorials, and they're great little snippets of tutorials that'll help you kind of build channels and create teams and change pictures. So please check that out. And Phil?
Yeah, so many of you may already know about Blackboard. Your school might be on there. One of the lovely things about Blackboard is it has maybe a lesser known capability, which is communities. And they're actually set up so it's a sort of a way for students and faculty to share things together, but it's also certainly for faculty groups. It can be a really great, more asynchronous, but still a meeting place for your community. But then of course, Blackboard Collaborate is the synchronous tool that you can use. You can have meetings on there. So we use that. That's our learning management system, but there's also a lot of functions for doing stuff online together. And then Padlet. obviously we've been using that today. I think you can see that it's pretty easy to get up to speed on it, and it's a great way to collaborate. And then finally, Eventbrite, it's a great site. I mean, it's a great place to go to just as someone if you're looking for things to do, because it lists all kinds of activities. A lot of them are paid. You have to pay for them, but a lot of them are free. But it's a really great way, as you saw in the video, is how Carolyn and Jim and the team put together the event through Eventbrite, because it's basically a tool for signing people up for different events. So strong recommend for that.
And the last link we provided is a link to Articulate. Like I mentioned before, this was developed through Rise. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, it is a paid product. And our program was able to purchase it for us and other faculty members to use it. So if you're able to, I highly suggest taking a look at the link and learning about all the different formats that are available. Phil also uses something called Storyline, which he really loves to work with. So go to the links, and hopefully those are resources you can bring to your community.
And because we are tight on time, we were going to have you go back to the Padlet and do the last column, which is what is one step that you could take tomorrow to strengthen the community, your community, synchronously. So I would really encourage you to still do that. You have that link and you can do that. We don't have time to do it as a group, but I think that would be awesome to see what people come up with. And it really is about something. It may be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do a meeting online instead of just through email. I'm gonna propose a meeting for our group. Or it could be something as more elaborate as like, I think we need some kind of games night or something, you know, or schedule a speaker for everyone in our department to come listen to. So just thinking about some ideas that you could do like literally tomorrow to start strengthening that community. I know a lot of you are already doing synchronous things, but kind of thinking about, yeah, what are the gaps? What are the areas in our program that need strengthening now that we're online all the time? So we encourage you to think about that.
And I'm just going to head to the chat for a second and just grab what some people have said. Cheryl says, wellness workshops are really important right now to support our students. Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl to run. Chris says, a creative and fun workshop using images and photos that speak to various themes, well-being, community, and hope. I love that. Maggie says, workshops on motivation. What are the best ways to stay motivated these days? These are amazing ideas. Jessica, employment services, college applications, healthy finances. I need to take that workshop. Maggie also says tax tips. And Chris says short film workshops, just as TED Talks with reflective questions. These are all wonderful ideas of workshops, and I may steal them. So thank you.
Awesome. Those are good.
Those are really good. And please, again, let this chat be a place that you can gain resources from and hopefully implement. So I just want to, looking at the time, I want to be able to give us the proper goodbye. So on behalf of Phil and myself, thank you so much for being a part of this workshop. We really appreciate it. And we're going to send the link to Barb. So hopefully if you ever want to look over this, Rise, again, you can. But in the meanwhile, we've listed our emails there for you to contact us directly if you want to chat about anything further.
Thank you, everybody. The other pitfall that happens a lot with these workshops is rushing to the end. And we fell firmly headfirst into that pitfall.
We did.
But part of it is that you guys had interesting stuff to say, so we wanted to let you say it. And we hope that this has inspired you to do something, just something to address what your community needs. It sounds like there's some great ideas already. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Barb and all, and thank you for being a part of it, everyone.
And Ellie and Phil, I want to extend a big thank you on behalf of all the participants today and those who will be later looking at the recording because they weren't able to attend today. And I loved how you used some of the tools within your workshop to demonstrate how to build community. I mean, I know obviously that was your intent. So I learned from it as well. Got to practice breakout rooms again, which was great. And so thank you so much for offering up your time. I think I noted just a couple of things that I'll say in closing as well. Some of the strategies that you mentioned can be used by big or small colleges and big or large classes. That's kind of a nice thing. And not everybody might have the capacity to do, 10 or 14 workshops, but even doing 1 or 2, at the start of an intake, or one in the middle and one at the end, however it works. I mean, people can structure them differently, that's for sure. But I think a lot of us have tried to do that even in the non-COVID world, offering different workshops, lunch and learns, things like that, that were just people could drop into and enjoy. And it's trying to mimic that kind of community building that's not academic necessarily, but really is of value to so many. So hats off to George Brown for being able to do that, and others have been doing similar things, I know. So thanks so much for sharing your expertise and experience so far in what you've been able to make happen. I see that it's 3:58. Timing is great. Thank you also for sharing your email contact information. Robin and I will post the recording of this, but probably not for a few weeks. We usually do them in a batch once all of the sessions for the 4 to 6 weeks are over. But if you wanted to contact me in the meantime and you want to connect with Phil or Ellie, I can make that happen too, in case you weren't able to get their address today in the chat. So thanks everyone. Stay safe and well, and we'll hopefully see you again at another session soon.
Thank you, Barb. Thanks, Robin. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone.
I'm going to hit stop on the recording.
There you go.